Hello and welcome to Double Feature, a podcast where we rate movies and beer. I'm Andrew Gibney.
I am Tom Coast, and we have watched Sound of Metal.
You sound great.
Yeah, right.
What? You told me you weren't feeling it? You were in it.
We don't need to put them all out.
I know, but we just need to film them.
Your hearing is deteriorating rapidly.
We'll come back. Till then, Lou, we just keep going, okay?
No.
Lou,
No.
let's play them all. Let's see what it's like, okay? I'm gonna be like a click track. You can play to me.
You have to understand, your first responsibility is to preserve the hearing you have.
Yes, this is the 2019 film, which I was about to say 2020, 2021, but no, it was 2019, which is nominated for the 2021 Oscars. Okay, that's thrown me a little bit. Directed by Darius Marder and starring Riz Ahmed and Olivia Cook. Tom, before we get into this Oscar-nominated film, what are you drinking for the podcast this evening?
Well, I'm always trying to find things that match what we've watched, and I'm clutching at straws here. The beer is called Clockwork Soul, and my wonderful girlfriend was like, pick that one because clockwork, metal, sound of metal, here we are. Yeah. So it is what they have called, they being Garage Beer Company, I think.
I'll do.
It is a Barcelona base? Cerveceros Garage, made in Barcelona, and it is what they call a Barcelona Vice, brewed with pears and blackcurrants. So I have no idea what to expect because Vice beer with pears and blackcurrant, but what makes it? Yeah.
Let's go. It's an interesting colour.
Well, that'll be the blackcurrant. That is nice, actually. I'm not the hugest Vice beer fan, but the fruitiness is there. Definitely get the blackcurrant. It's got that little Vice beer, maybe sour. It's not a sour, but you get that little tang of sour. And it's solid. Enjoying this. What about you? I know you've gone big and not gone home. So
I have gone big. Fun enough, the can has a picture of a bongo on it, so it makes it even more relevant to the film because about a drummer, bongo is like a extension of the drumming circle.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's called One Man Congo. It is an imperial pineapple, mango, and passion fruit sour by Pomona, and it's 10%.
Mine's 5.5, so you're going to be twice as fun as me today.
And which is because I was like, I'm really, really thirsty after I've been out for done 10k in 2 hours walking. It's a bit clammy, I'm really thirsty for a drink. So yeah, before starting a 12-hour shift, Tom, let's do a 10% beer.
It looks like orange squash.
Oh man. Oh, that's danger. That's danger in a can. That is.
Do you have a spare one of those?
I do not. I bought it last week from their web shop, Tom. It should still be there. Next day delivery from Pomona Island. Like, I'm getting all the fruits. The pineapple is like that kind of tartness, the sort of the bitterness of that. Mango and passion fruit, beautiful combination. I can't taste any alcohol whatsoever.
That is
It's danger.
Worrisome. That is worrisome.
In a can. Oh, that's lovely.
Now, speaking of danger, noise. Noise is bad for you.
Apparently so, yeah. As I sit with my headphones into my ears, like just pumping the sound, and yeah. So if you've not seen Sound of Metal, it's basically a heavy metal drummer called Ruben, played by Riz Ahmed. Very quickly into the film, realizes he's losing his hearing, and sort of about how you cope with that, how you deal with that, and the sort of pros and cons of like the options available to you.
Yeah.
Like we always do, it's kind of become like a tradition now. Once we decide what film we're doing, no research gets done. So like I didn't even know it was about drumming until I seen like the picture of him at the drums on Amazon Prime
Right.
Video. Like knew nothing about where it was going to go. and a very different film, I think, that I watched this year.
Mm.
I enjoyed it a lot. I think there's a lot of really good stories and kind of like messages in there. And yeah, I think it's a really interesting watch, and you don't know where it's going to go. I don't think I could have predicted kind of the sort of middle to the end part. And yeah, I thought it was a really good film, Tom.
I couldn't agree more. And it's something that we have to commend Darius Marder here for his choices, because that first half hour, I was stressed. Like, I felt like I was losing my hearing. Like, I felt every second of Ruben's kind of worries and just his, like, immediately you feel for the guy, because yes, obviously a lot of it would have come through his profession, which is a drummer in a heavy metal band, but at the same time you don't wish this on anyone. Like, it's just a horrendous thing, and how it happens, whether it happens as quickly as it does, if you ever notice that he was losing his hearing, because it suddenly he's just looking at setting up some gear, and it just suddenly goes.
Yeah, I think in that first scene when he's drumming, like, you can hear, whether it's this. I've never been a drummer in a rock band, so obviously you'd have some protection. You've got earplugs in, and like, but you wonder if there's been bits before that you just sort of go, it's loud, and you just sort of move on. But I think that was the realization of when he was doing it, and it was quiet, and it was like, fuck, I can't hear.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think that,
and it's not in the same way. Like, the only way I can relate to this is I get quite a waxy build of my ears, like, just naturally.
Talk to me.
Yeah,
dirty.
talk to you. And I've had to go, and before, used to be able to go to NHS and get your ears syringed, to the point where I wouldn't be able to hear out. Like, luckily, you sometimes like one ear be bad, but sometimes you get both of them. You're like, I can't hear, and I can't regulate my voice because I can't hear it properly, and that's bad enough. So for something like permanently to happen, like, I have like the smallest bit of, like, I can relate to it in the smallest possible way, and you get the impression as well that they're like an up and coming rock band or kind of touring. Like, it's not like you're already rich and you're like the drummer with the Rolling Stones and you've made your living, and it's like, oh well, fuck it, I'm deaf now. Like, this is the guy's career, and they're trying to build up to something, and to lose it fairly young, it's just, you're going to have that denial, which you see, and like just trying to fob it off, and like we're going to touch on Riz Ahmed massively going on, but as much as he probably isn't going to get the Best Actor Oscar because it's going to go to Chadwick, because that's what's going to happen. If they don't win, like, best, like, sound editing or something, there's an absolute travesty, because the way that they displayed, from what he was hearing to what, like, his girlfriend, Lou, what Lou was hearing, like, the sort of then going back to him, and you just getting like little tiny bits, and I thought it was tremendous, and it just put you straight in. You're there with him, like, you can't hear, you like everything's inaudible, especially when he does go to Lou makes him go to the sort of the retreat that sort of helps deaf people, and when they're all signing and they're all doing stuff, and he's just sat there like, fucking, I'm getting nothing.
Yeah.
And there's no subtitles, and there's no, like, we can't sign, so you're just watching it going, the fuck is going on? And that frustration must build so much, like.
I know, and it's that, I think that it's really cleverly done, because obviously it puts you in that situation of they're all having their conversations, they're all enjoying themselves, and Ruben is sat there going like, well, I don't get anything. Why are they laughing? They're pointing at him. They're doing, certain things, and obviously you kind of get lost in that. You get lost, but at the same time, it's also clever in a way that it flips it, because this is how deaf people feel when they are surrounded by people who can hear. People who can hear will just have conversations, and this person's like, they're like maybe trying to lip read or doing like that, and unless you know sign language or they're extremely skilled lip readers, they aren't going to get what's going on. And it's that same feeling of being left out that it portrays, and it kind of gives you both sides. And this time the coin is just flipped, and it's someone who used to be able to hear who is now completely lost, surrounded by people who have not been able to hear for a while and are very comfortable in this. And they're very comfortable in this. Yeah, they're very comfortable in their situation, and he's not. And it's, there's so much good to talk about this film, especially like we'll touch on the cast later, but obviously a lot of people who are in this film are champions of the ASL community, American Sign Language community, and the guy who plays Joe, Paul Raci, is not deaf himself, but I think both his parents were, or something along those lines, and he knows sign language anyway. And Lauren Ridloff, who plays Diane, the teacher, she's in Walking Dead for a good few seasons, and she is deaf, and she also, it's just bringing these, like, reaching out to that community and getting people who are, instead of just getting a bunch of extras and teaching them sign language, you just reach out to these people and do all this. And I think that this film, acting aside and everything else, it made me feel like I should learn sign language. Like, it genuinely did, in the sense of, like, this is a skill that can be so useful. And we were discussing this with Anna, and it just kind of makes you feel like, for example, that pharmacist, and Anna pointed this out, that pharmacist, when Ruben is trying to tell him stuff, obviously Ruben himself doesn't know sign language, but I'm sure he's not the first deaf person to have walked into a pharmacy. I think there's maybe certain jobs where it could be a requirement. You don't need to be fluent in it, but just the basics. Like,
if you know the alphabet, you can spell out words.
Yeah, exactly, and just stuff like that. And I think that is something that really, it kind of put that into light quite strongly. And it's, the film aside, I think that was one of the main things I took away from this. And I think that, as I said, you commend Darius Marder for making it as uncomfortable as possible for the viewer in that situation, because I've seen films with deaf people in them before, and it's like, you maybe hear nothing, like maybe they're just very hard of hearing, and it's like a scary film where the person can't hear quite properly and someone's walking around the house or stuff like that. Whereas this, it kind of showed you the pain, even though there's no actual pain. It shows you the struggles, the mental side of things, and the mental pain that is with someone who, his life, as you said, revolves around hearing, because he plays music, and to enjoy music to the fullest, you need to be able to hear it. I mean, whether what they were doing was music, I don't know, because that first song is fucking horrendous.
My first line was, "What a delightful opening number! That melody." Oh.
I wrote, to be fair, I'd go deaf too if I had to listen to that woman singing every night. But
jabbing stuff in your ear. No.
Stop.
But what's interesting, like you said, so they've got a lot of people who are involved in that community. And one of the biggest arguments you always get with films is about the whole, do you get like disabled people to play disabled roles? Do you get blind people to play blind roles? It's easy for me to say, coming from someone who's not deaf. I think getting someone like Riz Ahmed, who is an incredible actor to begin with, who does like emotion really well. If you have someone who's already deaf, I'm not sure you get the same reaction as to going deaf.
No, but this is a very different field. This is a very different thing. This is about transitioning from being not deaf to being deaf.
I'm sure there'll be threads and people saying, "Oh, why can't they get a deaf person to play a deaf role?" Fine, I get it, but I think you need someone who's like, "Shit, I now can't hear, and I have I have nothing to base this on."
Yeah.
Getting someone who already knows what it's like to be deaf, because they did an amazing job through the sound to be like, this is what it sounds like when you now can't hear. Mm-hmm. This frustration, and this is everything that comes with it, which I'm not sure you would have got from having someone who was already deaf.
No, and I think that if you read into how the film was made and what Riz did to fully immerse himself into the role is impressive. He, first of all, learned how to play the drums in 6 months, which fair fucks, like, why not? He also learned do sign language for the role because, again, why not? Obviously, because a lazy actor could have just said, just tell me what I need to do with my hands for my parts, and I'll be fine. But he didn't. He was like, you know what? I'm going to learn it properly. I'm going to learn how to play the drums. And not only that, but during scenes when he was trying to like come to terms with the fact that that Ruben had lost his hearing, Riz put in what they call auditory blockers deep inside his ear canal, and they emitted white noise, so he couldn't actually hear the sound of his own voice to try and understand how it felt. And he said like he couldn't hear anything, but after a while, and this is again an incredible like not gesture, but like shows like the method actor that he is, and he stopped the blockers because he was like, okay, well, it's not pleasant. Obviously, I understand, I get the concept. It's not pleasant, but instead of just taking them out and be like, well, I'll go and move forward, he then decided that from now on, I'm just going to communicate with the director and the deaf cast almost exclusively through sign language for the rest of the shoot.
It's crazy.
And it's just kind of like you just kind of think it's like you could have just rocked up, done your role, and fucked off. But no, you actually wanted to give back to the community, show that you actually cared. And I think that I already liked Riz Ahmed before this film. It's just kind of made me like him even more. And it's just that kind of thing that I hope that, I mean, you've known about Riz for a bit longer because you watched that series he was in a while back on Sky, I think.
And the night of, which they have to watch.
Yeah. And I obviously, I think I first saw him in Four Lions.
I think it was Four Lions, and that was a long time ago as well. And,
we've seen him on this podcast in Nightcrawler, where he plays next to Jake Gyllenhaal, and
I've not seen him do a bad thing, but this. Did you ever watch the short story? I forgot what it's called now, about the race thing. Yeah, it's called The Long Goodbye. It's a short film that he wrote and starred in. It's about race. And if you've not seen it, anyone who's listening, watch it. It's like one of the most powerful things of like 10 minutes long. It's ridiculous. Like, and it's because he raps as well because he's just fucking the most ridiculous man on the planet. So he's written. It's like the script is like a poem in a sense,
right?
It's phenomenal. It's like if you don't know where it's going, and you're like fuck, and it's like so it's a nail on the head of like racism in this country, and that was all him, and like he's something else. He's phenomenal, and for that gesture to be like not to be the big Hollywood actor and be like, well now I will talk to you and someone else can sign for me and like I'm the star, to be like, to go down to their level of understanding to make it easier for them and harder for him. It's like, you're a good fucking person. Like,
I think that's
a good person.
Even though I enjoyed the film without knowing all this kind of made me enjoy it even more and respect all the effort that was put into this film as to not just being like a film for the sake of, winning some Oscars, which we all know some films are made in for that exact reason. So.
And not just the performances, but I think the writing and the layering of his character. So you've got like a drummer losing his hearing. That's like the first like shit. Then you've got a drummer saying goodbye to his girlfriend who's madly in love with, to go live on this random commune that's got like some weird rules and some weird people and the weird way of working. But to also be an addict who's been clean for 4 years, who must have been that heavily entrenched in like substance that having a cigarette was deemed like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, to be that bad that like someone's a red flag is you're having a fag. Like shows you how deep down a hole he must have been. Like, and how like it must drive you close to the edge. You've lost your hearing, your job's gone, your career's gone. All your future, like you're now going to lose your girlfriend and live with these random people, but also don't do drugs at the same time. Like go through that. Like the complexities of that character is ridiculous.
Of course, and I think that it also showcases the desperation he's in. as well, because he obviously loses his hearing, goes to see the pharmacist. The pharmacist says this doctor will see you. The doctor tells him, look, you've got 24% hearing, 28%. And his first reaction isn't like, and he gets told about the implants. And then he's like, all right, cool. We'll put those in and I can go back to being a drummer.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that first of all, that's not how it works. Calm down. And then.
And the fact he was like, yeah, we'll carry on. It's fine. I'll carry on doing the
Yeah,
drum.
and he's like, he's prepared to like lose even more of his hearing to carry on his dream, which shows, as you said, how like passionate he is about his job and what he wants to do. And then obviously then goes on to this ranch, and as you said, he misses Lou so much that he's then willing to give everything up just to get the implant so he can go see her again. And obviously that kind of plays against him with the community with Joe, and because Joe kicks him out, which is cold, but I completely understood the reasoning behind it.
It makes it very clear that this community is here for people who are deaf and are going to stay deaf, and they've come to terms with it, and they're not looking for a solution. Mm-hmm. They're just looking for a way to live and be together. And like, whereas from day one, Ruben's like, right, cool, we'll get his implants, that'll fix everything, and off I go. Yeah. And like, yeah, he's kind of using the farm as like a fucking priory, like to get them clean for a bit, sort of stabilize them, and then be on your way. And fair play to Joe, because he was like, oh, just let me stay. He's like, nope, gone. Like, you can't.
And you see immediately how hard that was for Joe to say, because he's grown to like Ruben by this point. He really likes him, and everything that he's done for, you know, people like Jen, who he draws a tattoo for, and he's become a part of that community.
Like, I thought it was a really nice, like, it's not a montage, but in case of like to see the growth of Ruben, to be like from not having a clue what was going on to like learning sign and getting involved with the kids and doing the drumming stuff was really cool. Then the scene with the drumming on the slide,
that was all unscripted. The drumming scene,
like,
that's just the guy he is.
It's just showing you like this guy's like, right, I'm now part of this. I can give something back. Because it's the vibrations from the drums. You don't need to really be able to hear it. You can feel it, and that's what. But then you can see why Joe had to make that decision, because you've got all these kids who are all deaf. You don't know when or why they're deaf. It could be from birth. It could be from like a certain age. But you can't give them hope that there's like a solution for everyone. Like, not everyone's got 80 grand to put implants in. So you can't have someone then come back in and go, well, I can hear now. Like, listen to Blue. Yeah, you can't do that. You need these kids need to grow up and learn that you can live like this and it's fine. Yeah. Like, and even though he's become part of the community, it's tough. Like, which brought me on to that the scene with the implants is so powerful, which we're going to get to, Tom, after we have a break.
Ruben, the world does keep moving. It can be a damn cruel place. But those moments of stillness, when this crappy, mundane world suddenly becomes radiant and magnificent, all the fear is gone. That place will never abandon you.
Tom, how are you enjoying your Barcelona pear blackberry beer, and how did Anna enjoy it as well? Since you just popped away to.
Yeah. I have a duty to let her try my pod beers, because she doesn't get to drink any of it. So I've always said I'll give her a sip. She enjoyed it as much as I'm enjoying it. It's
so
very
kind. What a boyfriend of the year right there. Have a sip, darling.
Hey, I share so many.
Not too much.
I share so many of my beers. I do have the benefit that she doesn't particularly like IPAs or pale ales, so I get to keep those. But also,
buying lots of them now.
Yeah, I'm going to start doing so. Yes, but no, but it's so hard because the shop downstairs just has a stream of pale ales and IPAs, and you're constantly searching for the next sour because they're the ones that stand out and they're the ones that you could easily differentiate, going like, well, I know those fruits, so I know they'll be nice. Whereas if you've got 17 Boston IPAs in front of you, you're like,
You're catering for their market, Tom.
I know. Anyway, the Clockwork Soul by Garage Beer Company, or Cerveceros Garage SL. It's very good. It's, you know what? I can't really taste the pears. Pears not really, unless it's like pure pear. Pear, you're not. It's not like really a taste that's like ooh.
It's a kind of fruit that would go into the background, wouldn't it? Especially with a kind of tarty, syrupy.
Yeah. Whereas the blackcurrant you get, and obviously it comes through in the color. But no, I'm enjoying the Barcelona Weiss elaborada con peras y cruceas negras. There we go. How is your
One Man Congo is going. I've had to stop sipping it because I was going to finish the first half, so I had to slow down. It's fucking delicious. Like, you start thinking about the rating, and I'm like,
yeah.
shock, it's going to be high. So back to the film, and this sort of the sequence after the sort of the farm montage, and like Ruben finding his way and like become part of it, to selling all his stuff and selling the RV and getting the money for the implant, to that moment where he hears what he's now going to hear. And as someone who's never had hearing implants, like, I thought it was also going to be better than what it was. And I think he had assumed it was going to be like, flick a switch, my hearing's back, let's go. And it's tinny and it's breaking up. And there's that realization in his face. And it's something that Riz Ahmed does so well, is that emotional acting without saying anything.
Yeah.
And it's like a, fuck, this is not great.
And you know how he does that? With his eyes, and his eyes are commented so many times in that film because they say you're not like an owl, like he goes like fuck you. Their sign language for him is like the big eye thing.
Yeah.
Earlier on in the film, even when he's just talking to Lou, he's like, I look a bit like Jeff Goldblum, who also has like, and they comment on it, and yet that's what makes him so good. And as you said, it's just that moment when he's like, his eyes are so wide, and he's like, no, this isn't working. No, it's not right. It's not right. And it's like, no, mate, that's the best.
That's what 80 grand gets you, buddy. Like,
and the worst thing is that from that point onwards, and I think this is what makes this film so great, is that the bit where he's losing in hearing is so stressful. When he's lost it and he's learning sign language, the film is actually quite nice. It's serene. It's calm. He's enjoying himself. He gets the implant.
When he batters the donut, which
what
is
a
so
waste of a donut. What a waste of a donut. I was annoyed. I was like, eat it.
I would still have eaten it, but yeah.
But
it's calm. It's in the farm. It's nice, and there's like nice lighting, and the sun's dropping down, and it's all
and it's all calm and serene. And then as soon as you think everything is going to be fixed, everything becomes stressful again, and all the noise he hears is horrible. And when he gets to that Paris street, I was like, this is horrendous. And we just walk outside, there's noise. We don't even, we block it out. We're like, yeah, it's fine. But when you've not heard anything for so long, and everything is just hitting you, and the fact that they've made you feel this just by watching the film, like, I felt uncomfortable every time he had the hearing aids plugged in. So and the implants, every time he had the implants turned on, I felt uncomfortable. And yes, it helped him, the bits where they kind of, he's having a conversation, you know he's hearing, but you don't have to hear what he's hearing, kind of thing. When he's having the conversation with Lou's dad, it's a nice conversation. It's a very nice kind of little back and forth where he's like, I used to hate you, but now I thank you. And it's that kind of acceptance that actually Ruben might have done some good things for his daughter, because obviously with the death of her mother, and obviously that's when she spiraled down into using drugs. And yet something, and straight afterwards when he's at the party, something which should have been so nice, which is listening to his girlfriend sing, just, a song that her father wrote, and it's actually quite a sad song. something that should be so beautiful for him, hearing her sing rather than fucking scream in a microphone, is turned horrendous by the fact that he can't hear it properly.
Yeah,
And
at that point, I was like, aren't you glad she's not doing heavy rock anymore?
Yeah.
That would have been fucking horrendous.
I know. And I think that that's the moment where he realizes it's just not going to work. She can do all this. He can't. And that's when you kind of get the breakup scene and him realizing she's in a great place. Just like her dad said, she's in a great place right now. I would only drag her down.
Which was really, it's like when he first sees her again, so he notices the scratches on her arm are gone.
Yes. And when he's there, that she starts scratching again.
She started it, and it's like, you two together, although you love each other, are just not good for each other anymore. Like, just not meant to be. And
they and this is something that someone once said, that you meet people in your life that are good for you at different times. Now, you might meet someone when you're 25 who is perfect for you at the time. By the time you reach 28, that person is no longer good for you. And I think that, and then you meet someone when you're 28, 29, and that person might be the person that's good for you for the rest of your life. But I think that they found each other at the right time. They both needed someone else to lean on when they were struggling with drug addiction, and they found a way of, he was making her breakfast, doing these smoothies, they were having a bit of dance, and then wanting that routine of stop them from using drugs and stop them from, and they kind of able to focus on their music and grow from that. And that worked fantastically for 4 years. But the moment he lost his hearing, she was no longer the right person for him, because they weren't able to do what stabilized them anymore. Yeah. And she managed to, through him going to this community, she then went back to Paris, reunited with her father, who she'd been estranged with for so long. It helped. She was in a better place without him. And I think that there's so much to this film, rather than just the thing, it's just a bloke who's like losing his hearing. Yeah, it's not great. Like, there's so much to the character.
Just done by that sheer thing of her just scratching their arm.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck. They don't have to like mention it. Like, they don't have to talk about it. It's just that you've seen it, and even they don't really talk about when she's got the scratch on her arm at the start. You just see it. It's very visual, and it's just so powerful in terms of they're both bringing out the worst in each other now, even though it sort of stabilized them back then. And you need to go your separate ways, and then to get to the very end scene where obviously Ruben sat in Paris and the noise, and then just to take the implants off and just be like, the peace and the silence is just, and you can then like a nice sunny day in Paris is beautiful, but it's also the fact that you can't hear all the noise around you and
all
just
the French people.
It's beautiful.
And I think that obviously it comes back to that moment that Joe was speaking on when he was trying to get him to kind of that acceptance, that silence, that you're going to write in that book until that moment where you don't need to write anymore. And the moment you don't write anymore, put down the pen and accept and embrace the silence around you. That's like he says, no, nothing can trouble you kind of thing. And you see that in that moment. And that's when you know that Ruben has completely accepted the fact that he is deaf and he can go forward from here. And obviously he has now maybe a community he can fall back on back in America. Obviously, I don't know if you say to Joe, I'm not going to use my implants, like I paid for them, obviously I can't take them back. Because it's not like you can just return them and be like, no guys, I don't want it anymore. Yeah. Take them out, fuck it. Like, what they've actually done in a way is helped him take away that 24-28% buzzing, because it's completely silent now.
It's gone. Yeah.
Nothing. So they've scraped out all the stuff that they need to scrape out, and that was very uncomfortable when it comes to the thing. I was like, is that the... Yeah. And yet it gives him that complete silence. And obviously, if you say, well, I'm sure you can sell the fucking things. I don't know what it is.
If you go into the shop,
nip
one in just for a little, have you got, can you show me where this is? Like,
for 90% of the time, especially if you're in crowded places, at that party, you could fucking, you know what it felt like? I felt like he was a satellite dish picking up really bad transmission constantly. You were hearing bits of conversation that you'd probably block out normally when you're just walking through because you're focusing on someone.
Yeah.
And when that girl was trying to talk to him, Lou's friend was trying to talk to him, and all he could hear was the conversations on the other side. It was just because all it does is, I'm guessing, just picks up sound vibrations and puts them in your ear, and you've got no filter. There's no filter. Whereas if we're like you and Anna like tells me off for this, is like she'll be watching a video on Facebook and she assumes I'm listening, but I'm looking at my phone and I blocked this sound.
Out,
and he can't do that. It's just there. Like, it's just constant.
It's interesting because like that. So say we'll have the Alexa's playing in the kitchen, and then I'm watching something on TV, and then I'll be like, "Cat, listen to this." Like, my brain can do that. Like, I can like shut off the Alexa in the TV, but for some reason, Cat hears all of them at once. She's like, I can't listen. And I'm like, no, and it's in everyone's ears. And so what I've noticed doing the census stuff, I've had to like, chap on doors, but you're on a main road, and I've really struggled when you're saying trying to tell them something, all you hear is like cars going by. It's really hard to like. And you're like, what? It's really difficult when you've got that external noise. So I can only imagine what it's like.
Yeah.
When you're just picking up everything. And it was quite interesting that he was in Paris, because what I kind of related it to was when I moved to France. So if I was talking to someone one-on-one and they could talk a bit slower, we could kind of get there. And me and my friend Jimmy used to do the thing of he would speak in English to me and I would speak in French to him. We're kind of both learning, which is a bit like him doing learning the sign language. Like, you're kind of on their level, but you're learning. But whenever we went to a situation where maybe there was alcohol involved and like there was like loads of people and everyone's talking French and there's a lot of like, you just switch off because you're like, I can't take any of this in.
Yeah.
All I'm getting is noise everywhere. Especially when I used to go away for the football games, everyone's like a few cans in, and you're like, I don't know what he's saying. And there was that sort of, and as much as there's loads of times I felt like I was alone when I was in France, there was quite nice and just going back to my little like one bed flat and being like, like I don't have to try, I don't have to concentrate. And like sometimes like it's going to the shop was like, I can't be arsed with this, I can't be arsed trying to listen to French and really concentrate on what they're saying. Like there was that nice peaceful serenity of just like, on my own, no one's going to say it. And I kind of got a lot of that with when he's got the hearing
basically aids. And when he takes them off, then it's that kind of like that relaxation, and doing it. But I also want to talk about a couple of things about this. Now, this film was, and again, I think this is incredibly clever by the director. As you can tell, I've thoroughly enjoyed many aspects of this film.
Yes.
This film was shot in chronological order. So the bits where Ruben and Lou are apart, Olivia Cook and Riz Ahmed didn't see each other.
Okay.
So when they're brought back to do the final bits, they haven't seen each other for ages, and they did that on purpose to kind of try and portray that they haven't seen each other for a long time. Because obviously, when you do the first scenes, you kind of build that chemistry with that actor, with the other person in front of you. And I think that for this one, there was also the key decision to change her haircut, which Ruben notices and say look really good, all this stuff, all these things that it kind of, and as I said earlier on, it kind of makes sense as to, Riz Ahmed would have learned all the sign language in order to do those middle part scenes, because once he's got the hearing aids, he doesn't need them anymore. He doesn't need to do the sign language when he's in Paris. So all he's done it for is 20 minutes of the film, 30 minutes at a push. Well, like I really enjoyed this, and I could go on about this for fucking hours. Obviously, we don't have fucking hours, but
we don't. Have you seen where Olivia Cook's from?
No.
Oldham.
And he is from Wembley, so they're both British.
Like she was born like 20 minutes away from where
we're
recording this. This is mad.
And I think that, again, this shows... I mean, the only thing I've seen Olivia Cook in before was Ready Player One, because she's Artemis in Ready Player One. And obviously, Riz is from London, and the fact that It just, to me, I just love the fact that you can showcase British talent this well. The fact that they are, and we just recently done Mauritanian with Benedict Cumberbatch playing some fucking southern guy from Virginia, and he fucking nailed that accent. And you've got, and the fact that, and I don't know what made them pick Olivia Cook and Riz Ahmed. I have no idea. But the fact that British actors are getting this much recognition now in Hollywood is fantastic, because to me, accents are probably, like, it's so hard to get it right. Like, you can easily fuck up an accent so easily, and yet they fucking smashed it throughout.
At no point are you like, well, that's a bit dodge. Not at all. And I mean, in all the films Riz has been in, even I think he was in like the last Bourne movie as well, as like a tech mogul. Yeah. And he's American. He's American in The Night of. He's in Star Wars.
He's the bad doctor in Venom.
Yeah. Star Wars, like he's playing. It's just accents he absolutely nails. So like, and even like from being born in Wembley and in Four Lines, he's from like Bradford, Sheffield area, and nails that. And that's probably the first film you see his eye acting, as I'm going to call it. Remember the bit he goes to his wife working in the hospital, and he's saying goodbye because he's going to go blow himself up.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've got the call, and there's a lot of us looking at each other.
Yeah.
You know exactly what he's talking about just from his eyes, and you're like, and then Benedict Cumberbatch is in that as well randomly. But I don't think at that point you're like, this guy is good, one of the top actors in Hollywood. Probably didn't think that watching Four Lines, but
no. But I think that,
and I think this is going to launch him to another level.
And I really hope that it does, because I want to see him in so much more stuff. And it's not even to detriment of my own like inability to watch things. He's been in things that you've seen, obviously through Sky and stuff like that, but he's not had, this is, I want to say, is this his first main role in Hollywood, in what you would consider a proper big Hollywood film that has kind of made it on the Hollywood level? Because
so you got Venom, he's a bit part. Like,
he's the bad guy. I haven't seen Mowgli, but that's coming.
Rogue One, he's a bit part, obviously. Like The Night of, he's like the lead.
Yeah, but
the lead, and that was a big. I'm sure it was HBO or whatever. Like it's a big. Like Jason Bourne, he's like a bit part. Nightcrawler, he's probably like one of the main actors, but not like this was the one. This is the one where he is the lead. There's no like. You would say Olivia Cook secondary to him. Everyone else has said he is the lead guy. And
he is the lead guy. I mean, the film is about him. And now this film has been nominated for 6 Oscars. The Oscars are this weekend at the time of this on Sunday night.
We've got actor in a leading role, but Chadwick's going to win that. I'm trying to see what the other ones are. Paul Rassi's in for actor in a supporting role, which is interesting because he's not like although it's a main part of the film.
If Viola Davis can be supporting actress,
exactly,
she's leading actress. She's leading actress.
Yeah, she's leading actress. Yeah, so
anything is possible in Hollywood. Best sound. If he doesn't win that, I will go mad. I mean, I haven't seen probably some of the other films in there, but this.
But this one's it's based on sound, isn't it? Sound is the thing. It's not even like I can't remember. It was a Bohemian Rhapsody one that time. Everyone was like, oh, it's a film about music, fair enough, but it's not. This is all about sound and perception, and it's so important to that. Like, it's whether it's a contender for Best Picture. I'm not sure. I've now seen 1, 2. I've seen 3 of them. Like, we're going to try and do Nomadland the week after the Oscars, but they're bringing it on the 30th, which seems weird.
Well, we'll have to do it. We can look. We can use that as a like. Did it deserve? Because it will win one. I'm sure at some point. It's predicted to win a few of them.
It won at the BAFTAs as well.
So I think that will be a good opportunity to look back on the ones we've done and whether they deserved it, and compared to the ones that we've seen. But anyway, we're getting off topic of.
Yes. So for sound, it's against Soul and Mank as well. And I'm not quite sure why Mank's nominated for sound. Things like that are above my understanding of film.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
There's nothing to me that says like, wow, that was some crazy sound mixing.
Soul I can understand. It's a good film, all about music. Again, all about music. And if you're going to have films about music, they should be in for the sound mix. And I'm surprised that Ma Rainey's Black Bottom isn't in the sound.
Yeah, that's But I suppose the music was kind of secondary. I think everyone thought it was a movie about music, but the music was kind of secondary to what it was. Yeah, and then the last one is up for writing original screenplay against Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Promising Young Woman, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. And
We have seen. It's the only one we've seen.
I think the fact that this is like an original, because Trial of Chicago 7 is based on true events, you've kind of got that source material to call.
This is technically no, but to be fair, this is technically based on someone's life. It's so
I did read that.
For those who don't know, we'll read the IMDb for you. The plot and main characters are based on Derek Cianfrance's unfinished docufiction film Metalhead, in which the drummer of a heavy metal duo blows his eardrums out and must learn to adapt to a world of silence. Cianfrance's film was in post-production since 2009, and it stars Jucifers, which I'm guessing are a heavy metal band members, and a real-life couple, Edgar Livengood and Gazelle Amber Valentine, what a name, playing themselves. Darius Marder was one of the screenwriters of Derek Cianfrance's The Place Beyond the Pines, and Marder was personally asked by Cianfrance to rework Metalhead from the beginning as well as give his blessing. So this is based on, if it's a docufiction, you're then probably looking at, this is probably based on something that happened. Let's put it that way. And I can see it happening in the sense of
most films are. I'm sure he's not the first drummer to lose his hearing.
Yes, and I think that that's when you kind of, if you're going to be around that sound for so long, that loud music, it's going to damage your hearing. Now I've got a question for you, just because I've seen the thing here. I know you don't, but did you watch this with subtitles?
Yes.
Because you can turn them off on Amazon Prime. However, when it was shown at film festivals, it was shown with subtitles because they wanted to bring hearing people into the experience of those who are deaf and hard of hearing, and when they watch a film, what it's like, who would also require captions on for any film or TV shows. And because we're coming to the end, I had a question for you, and you're not going to.
I've got one as well.
It's probably the same question, but however, if you were in his situation, would you learn to accept that you are going to be deaf, just like he does in the end, or would you then do what you can to get the implants, just to get that sense of, because all it does, it gives you that kind of mini sense of normality, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think I can totally sympathise with you lose your hearing, you do everything you can to get it back. But I'd like to think that if I got to a situation on that farm where you can see like the smile on his face and the belonging, whether if I'd found comfort that I'd be okay with not. Like probably still sell your RV, get some cash, whatever, but I don't know. I think it'd be hard to, I don't know.
Does that happy? And this is just something that's come to me now. Does that happiness happen because you are surrounded by people who are like you? But as soon as you go out in the normal world, does that all come crashing back down?
If you go to the shop and you're giving it all the sign stuff, and they're like, "Fuck, you talking about, mate?" I don't know what you mean. But then I just think in this day and age, I've got my phone.
Mm-hmm. But you have no trouble communicating with them. You can talk to them in this situation.
You can be like, "Where's the milk?" and fucking they can just write it down or what. I don't know. I just feel now we're getting to a place where there's more that you can do.
Of course. But I'm just.
Yeah. Because the question I was going to ask you, Tom, was if for some whatever reason you had to pick between losing your hearing or losing your sight.
Oh, that's tough, man.
Because I think I'm hearing, because so much of what I enjoy involves visual.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you then have to say goodbye to music.
I've never had to listen to Taylor Swift again, which would just be terrific. Like
that and Little Mix. My
life is over.
Your life is over. But I think that I would probably enjoy.
I can still watch them on YouTube. It's not the same, but
yeah, I think you'd watch them on YouTube for different reasons. But the point How
dare you question my loyalty to Swiftie in some kind of sexual manner? You monster.
I think that what I do on a daily basis I think I could do my job while not hearing anything.
Yeah.
I think that's where it comes in. It's like, can I continue my current life? And I think that this was the big problem that Ruben has in this film, is that he can't continue his normal life without hearing. Now, I bet you he probably would. His answer would be, I'd lose my sight, because then I can still hear and I can still play my drums, because you know where all the drums are. You've done these movements hundreds of times.
You're not looking at the cymbal and going ding. That's not how it works. It's on instinct. And
so, whereas for me and for you, our jobs revolve around seeing things. I have to write, I have to type. You have to be aware of your spreadsheets and all that shit that you have to do. So and obviously the key part for you is you can still play Football Manager and stream without hearing. Now, you obviously wouldn't hear how stupid you sound, but it's the same thing. Like,
which is a bonus.
Not for us, but for you.
Some might say it makes it better.
So yeah, to answer your question, I was going to say I'd lose my hearing. Even though music is a big part of my life, and I do thoroughly enjoy listening to music and doing all that, I do love a good subtitle on my films. So I already am halfway there.
It's on a lot of time for me. I'm getting more used to it. I usually turn it off when I'm not eating something, or it depends on what I'm watching. If I think like something like Top Boy, because I'm not from the streets, Tom, as you may have noticed.
What?
I need the subtitles for something like that, because I do not speak the lingo.
because reading it makes you understand it so much better.
It's educational. What? Fam.
Yeah, all those things.
Yes. Let's get to the beer first, Tom. Clockwork
Soul. Not orange. Soul.
Yeah. How from garage, and what's garage in Spanish? Since you speak a bit of Spanish.
Garaje.
Garage.
I have no idea. Garage beer company.
You said that from
Barcelona. Lads. It's very nice. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I would definitely have it again. I did really enjoy that. It's not blowing my mind. It's just solid for what it is. It's solid. It does what it says on the tin. It's my catchphrase on when it comes to the beers. And as long as you do that, you have got my vote, because that's why I picked you. I picked you because what you say on the tin is what entices me to buy your beer. So if you can match that, you've got yourself a 3 minimum. Now, how well you do that then gives you the ratings on top. But yeah, 3.5 for Clockwork. So how is your one-man bongo?
One-man Congo.
Congo bongo.
So it's an Imperial Pineapple Mango and Passion Fruit Sour by Pomona. It's 10%. It has gone down like I'm drinking Umbongo, like that. It's absolutely delicious. And to contrast it with that 13% quadruple IPA that we got from Track, where you tasted every percent of the alcohol, to think this is only 4% less, and it's like juice. And I was worried about drinking it before work, which we'll see how that goes. Tom, I can't recommend this highly enough. I've just got a decision to make.
Is it a 5? How generous are you feeling?
And I'm like, it does everything. Like, as you said, it's saying pineapple, mango, passion fruit, sour. It is all of those things. It's also 10%, so it could have been really boozy. It's not. Tom, fuck it. I'm going 5.
Woo!
This is the most delicious 10% beer I've ever had. They've not substituted the booze for fruit. It's packed full of fruit. You can taste them all. There's nothing to mark it. There's no reason to mark it down.
Right. Sorry. Pomona Island.co.uk.
One-man conga.
All right.
And I'm glad I left it for the pod. I nearly had it the other day when I was getting drunk with the neighbours. I thought, nope, I'm saving this for the pod because it's going to be an experience. I'm glad that I did. While you look at buying some beer from Pomona Island, I'm going to go first with my score, which I still haven't decided in my head what it is. This could be good. Like, I enjoyed it at first watch. There was so much, probably the most notes I've written for a while, and just little bits and even things you at a time, the little elements, and we've talked about it.
Yeah.
And we've bad word to say. I really struggle with anything to be like, this didn't work or whatever. Immersing yourself into the deaf community through a film and like not making you feel sorry for them, but sort of empathizing and being in their situation and being like, fuck it. And then it took me to places of my own like life of like when I felt to like having the ears syringed or being in France and just having the noise and not understanding, like took me to places that other films haven't. So I'm going. In my head, I'm going, is it a 10? And I don't know the answer.
Just like your beer.
It is just like beer, but then I'm like, well, why are you marking it down? I don't know.
I think, do you then go, is it rewatchable? Is it something you're going to go, I would rewatch that? Because all the 10s that I give, I know that I can sit back down and watch them again. The only one I haven't yet is 1917, and I'm just scared that it's not going to be the same experience.
And I think that's because of the cinema experience. Like, and I think you're right. It's like, am I going to sit down? Is this a rewatchable film? I'm not sure it is.
That's where I stand.
So I think just on that reason alone, I'm going to go 9.5.
I was just going to go with a 9. So, I mean, that still gives this a 9.25, which I believe is the best film we've seen this year.
Once I get to the spreadsheet, I'll probably agree.
I believe Cherry was a 9.
It was. Cherry was a 9. 9.25 would be the highest. And like you said, it's not. It's such an important film. It's such an impactful film, but it's not one that you're going to jump in halfway through and go, oh, I love the donut bit. Get it on.
My favourite bit is when he goes back to Paris with all that screeching noise. Yeah.
Because it's a tough watch as well in terms of the. But that I wrote down there's a bit where you've not got subtitles with the sign language. And like it's frustrating, like, but it's meant to be. You're meant to be You're meant to be with him and be like, oh, fucking hell, just tell us what you're saying. I don't know. Like, and that's what it's meant to be. And I think that's what's so powerful. But yeah, it limits how many times you're not going to go back to it. Like you'd recommend it. You'd be like, have you seen Sound of Metal? I'll fucking watch it. It's so good.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm not going to sit down. I think I said to Kat last week, like Palm Springs, watch it. I'm happy to watch it with you. Like
yes.
This is not one where I'm going to like, oh, sit down, let's watch this together because I really enjoyed it. But it doesn't take away from how good a film it is.
Yep.
I think just the subject matter and how brutal it is limits its rewatchability. So that gives Sound of Metal a double feature score of 9.25, which is, I'm trying to say where the last film that beat that was. I mean, we've only done 4 films that have beaten that.
Endgame. It's 1917.
Jojo Rabbit and Intouchable.
And what now?
The French film.
Intouchable, of course. Yes, sorry. But that was boosted by me giving it an inevitable 10.
Yeah, but still, it's very good company. So yeah, thank you to everyone for listening. Let us know in the comments what you thought. Let us know if you'd pick sight or sound. That'd be interesting. Because like being a drummer, you need the hearing. That's like, but most other jobs are maybe more vision based now because we live in technology. Like I'm trying to think of other jobs that are like sound based that it was radio DJ and all these kind of things. Regular jobs I can't think of. Like I don't know, could you drive the tram if you couldn't hear? Probably not. Because most jobs now are very much visual. Let us know what jobs you think you couldn't do with sound. Let us know what you're drinking as well. Let us know if you've had one man conga because it's fucking delicious.
It's not on the website anymore. It's not on House of Trembling Madness either.
It wasn't released on Wednesday, but there's a rhubarb sour that Kat wanted to try, so I got 2 of them on Wednesday, and I was like, what else can I buy? And I was like, 10% sour, yes. Hey, but maybe we'll go to Escape to Free Island and it'll be on there maybe.
Maybe, hopefully. Anyway.
Okay. Anyway, from me and Tom, thanks for listening. Until next time, cheers.